mile one, my ankle, bam, flips over. This is where it all went wrong. Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Selena, also known as Cece. You can find me on Instagram under Cece Runs the World. So welcome to my channel and my very little corner of the internet. I've decided to make this channel to document my running journey. So I've been running for a little over 2.5 years now, and in that short amount of time, I've accomplished a lot. So to date, I've ran 7 marathons and countless other races. So I'm going to take you on a little journey with me of where it all started, where I am now, and where I would like to go next year and moving forward. So let's start from the beginning. My very first marathon, which was the London Marathon. So I had a really big birthday coming up and I decided I want to do something that was going to scare me, but also excite me. So what did I do? I signed up for a marathon. At this stage, I hadn't even run anything over 7K. So this was a big deal for me. I went on the London Marathon website. I downloaded the beginner's training plan because I didn't have a clue what I was doing. I needed something to follow. So I also decided to find a local running club, which was very helpful. So I started running with my running club twice a week. And when I inquired about the club, it turned out that the captain was running her first marathon, which was also London. So that was really nice to know that I would be around someone that was doing the same thing as me. So it turned out that we would run twice a week in our club, and then we would do Sunday long runs together, which were very helpful for me because I didn't have a clue and they were more experienced. Even though she hadn't run a marathon, I was around people that was more experienced around running. So this is me on the start line of the London Marathon, looking very serious. But to be honest, I was nervous and excited at the same time. I was so excited to be there that when that gun went, I was gone. You couldn't catch me if you tried. I shot off. So I did really well, like most people do, until mile 19, I crashed and hit the wall. So from that stage, I decided to start to walk, run, walk, run, walk, run. The crowds in London are just absolutely off the chain. I had my name on my top. People were shouting, come on, you can do it. You know, it was such a good atmosphere. However, I got to, I'm not even really sure where it was. It was one of the Lucasade like water stations towards the end. And I can hear someone shouting my name like they knew me. I was so confused because I knew that my family were at the end waiting for me at the finish line on the grandstands. So I was like, who's calling me? Like they were shouting my name like we have been friends forever. I looked over and who was it? Anthony Joshua, the boxer, was shouting my name. So he was like calling me and saying, what's the matter? What's the matter? And I was just like, I am so tired. Like, this is so hard. I can't do it. And he was like, look at me. You can do this. You've trained for this. You can do it. I was like, yes, I can. So I said, can we take a picture together? And he was so nice to make me take a picture with him. So after that little prep talk, I felt so good. I really needed it. And that helped me to shuffle along. I wouldn't call it running. I would say that would help me shuffle to the end of the finish line to finish the race. And as much as I was very proud of myself, I was very disappointed because I wanted a sub 4. Really, the time that I'd done wasn't far off a sub 4, but I was really disappointed with the time, knowing that I shouldn't have probably went off so fast. And, you know, after races, you always reflect and end up beating yourself up of things that you could have done better, coulda, shoulda, woulda, you know. But reflecting now back, I could be nothing but proud of that marathon. You know, it's the first time I'd ever run that distance. So, you know, it was a good race and I'm really glad that the London Marathon was my first. So then in my club, I saw someone put up a post about the Paris Marathon. So bearing in mind, the London Marathon was October 2022 because of the C word, you know, the pandemic that was there. So it's normally in April, but it's pushed back to October. So London Marathon 2022 was October. So now this is 2023 and someone's put up that they're going to be running the Paris Marathon. So what did I do? I signed up. And a few other people from my club signed up too. So a few of us went over there. So this time I think I was a bit more, into the training groove. I kind of knew what to expect going into this marathon. So I ended up running it with the same captain of the club. She also came over. We wasn't meant to run together, but I think that she had become ill before with a cold, and she decided to take it easy, and we ended up running together. Unfortunately, there were times when I was just like, we ran so well. To be fair, we ran really well. But there were times I was like, I'm done. I can't do this. And then there's times where she's like, she's done. She can't do this. But we carried on going. We pushed each other to the end. And, to be fair, we knocked 18 minutes. Well, I knocked 18 minutes of my time. So I was really excited by that. It was such a big amount of time to knock off. I was like, oh my gosh, I don't even know how I did it, kind of thing. But, I really, really, really enjoyed Paris. It was a really good marathon. So I kind of let that settle for a little while. Then I was thinking, what next? What next? And then I heard people talking about, the Berlin Marathon. And I was like, Berlin? Oh, that sounds exciting. Let me go and have a look. And then I stumbled across the World Majors, the Stick Star Medal, and I was like, oh, this looks really interesting, like something that I would be interested in doing. So I was like, oh, okay, let me see what I can do. So I signed up for the Berlin Marathon and got a bib. And the problem with Berlin is that I didn't have no one to go with. I was all by myself. I knew some people that were going from America, but I had never met anybody. So I literally was going to Berlin by myself. So I got to the airport, and when I was in the airport, I met this lovely young lady, and she was traveling to Berlin too, solo. So we got talking, we went through security together and then sat down and had breakfast, and we just became instant friends. So we got to the other side, we got to Berlin, and we helped each other navigate around, Berlin to try and get to the expo to get our bibs and that. It was really nice to have someone there. We decided to meet up the next day at the Shakeout Run. So we met up at the Shakeout Run the next day, where we met another friend for the first time. And to this day, the three of us are still such good friends. And I think that's the number one thing about Berlin that makes it my number one marathon from 2023 is the people that I met. I've made such good friendships from that Berlin Marathon. And, it will always be a special one for me. So this is us, the three of us. And as I said, today we are such good friends. But I will talk about them a bit later on in the video. So we did our Shakeout Run, which was amazing, had fun, everything. I also met the other ladies from America, which they were a blast, had a really, really good time. And it turns out that I was going to actually end up running the marathon with one of the ladies. Now for Berlin, everybody wants a personal best, but I wasn't really fussed with time. I just knew I wanted to do better than I did in Paris. And as I said, for Paris, I got an 18-minute PB, which was amazing. So even if I got a 1-minute PB, I wasn't fussed. So I ended up running with one of the ladies from America, and I was a person that was running in, grabbing water. I was not taking this race seriously at all. I was just there for a good time. So I ran the majority of the way with one of them, and then I left her and carried on. And it turns out that I actually got a 6-minute PB on that course. And again, I was very happy because I wasn't expecting it. I was just running and I felt so good. And in reflection, looking back now, I think I could have done so much better that day because I literally got to the end and felt absolutely fine. So that was the Berlin Marathon. Today, that is still one of my favorites because the course was lovely. It was just for fun and I met such amazing people. So we then move on to the Berlin Marathon was September 2023. So now I'm like, oh, I'm kind of enjoying running these marathons. What's next? So someone in my club again put up the Milan Marathon. was like, why not? Let's go to Milan. So signed up to the Milan Marathon. A few other people from the club signed up again. We all went over there, had a blast. Now this time I had a plan in my head. I wanted to Boston qualify because now I want the 6 stars, don't I? So the plan was I just want to get a Boston qualifying time to get into Boston. So one of the gentlemen that came from our club, very experienced runner, he believed that I could get the time that I needed. I didn't so much really believe it, but I wanted it. So we decided literally on the start line that let's run this together. He said to me, I'm going to get you halfway and then I want you to go for it. So I was like, okay, I'll try. Again, not really believing in myself. So Milan was probably the hottest marathon that I've ran. It was April, but the weather was hot. So when we started off, it was lovely and sunny and it was just really nice, but it wasn't overbearing. I think as we got to mile, I would say maybe 14, the sun started to come out. I was like, okay, this is fine. You know, we've got this. Just make sure that I was hydrated enough. I was taking in my gels. I was doing, say, probably around mile 18, 19. The heat just started to get too much. Like I felt like the heat was coming out of my ears, out my fingers, the top of my head. Like I was just so hot. So I said to the guy that I was running with, like, you go, like, just go. Like, I don't think I can go any further. I'm just going to take my time. So he went off and I carried on just kind of chuckling along. I had to be stopping at the side. They had like people with buckets and sponges. And I was like pouring sponges of water over my head, throwing water over my face. I was doing everything to try and cool myself down and it just wasn't working. So again, I started to walk, run. At this stage, who cares about Boston? I just want to get to the end because I was so hot. So I met this other lovely gentleman I've never met before in my life. He was from the UK and we got talking and he was like, you know, what's the matter? And I was like, this is just so hard. Like, I'm just so hot. And he was like, oh, I took a really bad fall, so I'm just going to take my time and get through as well. Like, do you want to run together? I was like, sure, let's do it. So we would run to one bit, walk to one bit, run to one bit, walk to one bit. And we did that all the way to the end. And then when we got to the end of the marathon, he said to me, go on, you're still going to get your Boston qualifying time, go for it. And I ran in front of him and carried on going. And this is me getting across the finish line and I did Boston qualify. So I was very excited at that time. I probably knew that I didn't have a big enough buffer to actually get into Boston, but the fact that I actually qualified in that extreme heat was just amazing for me. So that was like, Milan was a real special one. So let's go on to our next marathon, which is again the London Marathon. So Milan was April, 2 weeks later was London. So I decided to run the London Marathon because I got in for a good for age time and my partner was running the London Marathon for the first time. So this race was never about me. This race was supporting him and being there for him because I clearly knew what it felt like to run your first marathon by yourself and how nice it is to have the support along the way. So my job was just to be there for him and get as much footage as possible. Unfortunately, let's just say, guys, I am the worst pacer ever. At the time, you know, I went off way too fast and made him go off way too fast. So don't ever ask me to pace you, please, because I can't do it. So yeah, I'll never do pacing again, I don't think. I think I've got a lot of practice to do. So we ran that race. It was amazing. It was his first. He enjoyed every bit of it. And here is a picture of me, you know, recording him as he goes for the finish line. So I was just really happy that I was there to document his first marathon. So that was London done. Not about me, not about time, just being there for someone else. So then we move on to my next marathon, which was meant to be the Chicago Marathon 2024. Now, we'll all go for Chicago. They went, you know, everything was fine. We're going to do the Chicago Marathon. However, I got the opportunity to run the Berlin Marathon for the 50th anniversary. I was gifted a place, and how do you say no to that? You know, I know that that wasn't part of the plan. They were 2 weeks out from each other. So this made it really tricky because my coach was not having any of it. I had already ran 2 marathons very close together. And then now I'm running another 2. And she's just like, no way. Like, running 4 marathons in a year is not a good idea anyway. But she's just like, no, you're not doing it. However, I spoke her around and I convinced her to let me do it. So we decided that Berlin was going to be my goal to try and Boston qualify again, because we didn't think I had a big enough buffer at the time, and Chicago was just going to be for fun. So that was the plan. However, as I'm starting to train now to do the Berlin Marathon, it was one of my long runs. I think I had 18 miles to do. And I woke up that day and I just didn't feel great. I woke up, I wasn't in the mood. Bearing in mind, I'm the person, when I have a run to do, I'm up first thing, 5 o'clock in the morning, I'm up, having breakfast, doing everything I need to do. I need to get this run done and out of the way so I can continue with the rest of my day. This day I was sluggish. I wasn't feeling right. I was just like, ugh, I've got to run 18 miles. On reflection, I probably shouldn't have done the run. But me being me, I went out anyway. So I went out with one of my friends. She was running about 10 or 12 miles. I can't quite remember. And we went out to run together. I think I got to mile 3 and I was like, my shoelace feels funny. Like I was getting a pain on top of my foot. I was like, something doesn't feel right. So I kind of stopped, readjusted my shoes, carried on running, didn't think anything of it. So I ran the time with her. She veered off one way. I carried on because I had 18 miles to do. Once I left her, I was stopping every mile. Nothing was really hurting. I just didn't feel like I could do it. My easy pace felt hard. My marathon pace felt hard. Everything was just off. But did I stop? No, I carried on going. So I think here's a little picture of me sitting down. I found this beautiful lake and I decided to just kind of sit down and just stop for a minute because I felt awful. Again, when I stopped, I didn't feel anything dramatic. I was just feeling tired, lethargic, sick. But I thought, you know what? You haven't got long left. Let's just get home. So I got up and continued to run home. Now, this is where it gets interesting. When I got home and I took off my shoe, my ankle was the size of a tennis ball. Literally. It was huge. I was like, oh my gosh, what have I done? Like, how did this even happen? So I didn't really think much of it. I just iced it, tried to elevate it, but my foot was pretty sore to even walk on. So that same week, that was the Saturday, the same week I went to go and see my sports massage lady. She took one look at my foot and she was just like, that looks awful. You need to go and see, you know, someone else. So she referred me to a sports rehab center where the guy looked at my foot and he was like, okay, we've got 2 things going on here. You either have a stress response or you have a stress fracture. This looks awful. He was like, if you have a stress fracture, you will not be running either of your 2 upcoming marathons. So at this time, instant panic. Instant panic comes into my head. I'm like, I can't not run these marathons. Like, I've worked so hard. Like, I've really worked hard to try and Boston qualify. I spent a lot of money. I can't not go. So he did a lot of tests on my feet and it came back that it was probably 95% chance that it was a stress response. So he asked me to rest, do all the physio that he's given me, and to start to modify my plan and take it down. So quite fortunate for me, I have a Peloton bike, so I was able to do a lot of cross training and a little bit of running, no speed work. So after doing all the things that he was telling me to do, my foot didn't feel terrible. Like, I could run in it, but it was a little bit sore. So this is where it all went wrong. I decided to run the big half. So the big half is a big race in London, and I decided that I was going to run this big half race. Probably the worst mistake that I've ever made. So the big half, everything's fine. Normally when I run, I always run with a handheld with my own water, but for some reason I didn't want to run with the handheld, so I had to keep on stopping to get water. So we take off on the big half now, get to the first water station. I grab water. As I grab water, I don't know what happened to my footing. the same foot where I've got the problem across the top now, it literally went from this to slamming down on the floor and coming back up again. I screamed so loud. Everybody was looking at me like I was crazy. And I was just like, oh, what have I done? So I kind of went over to the side, assessed my foot a little bit. I couldn't see anything. I kind of did a little bit jumping up and down on it. It felt fine. I was like, okay, just go. So I continued running and pain. I just felt pain. All the way through, I felt pain. So I got to the Tower Bridge, and after Tower Bridge, I was like, you know, you've got Berlin Marathon in 6 weeks. You've got Chicago Marathon in 8 weeks. Why are you running so fast? Slow down. It's fine. So I decided to slow down, and as you can see in this picture, I decided just to enjoy it, smile all the way, and get to the end. When I got to the end, took off my shoe, again, my ankle was the size of a tennis ball. Just gross looking. So I was like, this is great. Like, Selena, really? So went back to see the sports rehab center, gave me all these exercises to do. He did all these tests, a lot of jumping on my feet, like standing on one foot, all this kind of stuff. And thankfully, it was a sprained ankle, but nothing really serious. So again, my training plan had to come right down, no speed work, lots of cross training on the bike, lots of strength, lots of yoga, stretching, mobility. So at this time, it's kind of evident that the goal I was going for in either of the two races were just not going to happen. So then we go on now to the Berlin Marathon, the 50th anniversary. So this is me picking up my bib, excited to be there. Again, I didn't have much expectations because I knew my training plan had completely gone out the window. So I just went off. I really enjoyed it. You know, my ankle literally hurt the whole way around that marathon. So again, that marathon, I did a lot of walking, running. Got to the end of that marathon. I did it just under 4 hours. It is what it is, you know, like it is. There was nothing that I could do to make, well, I could have run faster. However, I was very aware that 2 weeks, in 2 weeks time, I had to go to Chicago. So what was, you know, I had to weigh up what was more important. So I slowed it right down and just got through the finish line and really enjoyed the race. To be fair, I didn't enjoy the Berlin Marathon 2024 as much, maybe because it was the 50th anniversary. It was really packed. I got a lot of elbows in my face of people, you know, going for their PBs. So it wasn't my favorite run, but I enjoyed it and I had a really good time. And I probably would do it again. You know, I wouldn't be running to do it, but if I got the opportunity again, I definitely would do it. So now let's move on to Chicago. So remember I was telling you about my friends that I met in Berlin 2023. We now have become friends over the year, over the internet. We've seen each other. Like, one of my friends came over and done the London Marathon. My other friend that lives here that I met in the airport. We've all become very, very friendly with each other. The two girls, they ended up running the Paris Marathon together. So yeah, we've all become friends and, you know, seen each other in different parts of the world, which was really nice. So now we've decided that we're all doing a Chicago Marathon and we get an Airbnb together. And literally we had the most amazing time. So again, I had no real big expectations for the Chicago Marathon. Everyone just told me it was an amazing course. It was fun, it was flat, it was fast. So I just went in to have a good time. So as you know, we get to the start line. It's all fun and games. I set off. As I set off, you never guess what happened. Mile one, my ankle, bam, flips over. I'm like, how? I'm just gonna run and enjoy it. Like, let's just go. So I just carried on running. I didn't have any other races coming up, so I wasn't too worried. However, I didn't push myself too much. I just ran it nice and comfortably. I got to mile 21 and we were going through one of the bridges. Now, the Chicago Marathon was a lot of fun. The only thing that I didn't like about the Chicago Marathon was the bridges, and that's only because I have my injury. So on the bridges, on one side you have like a red carpet, on the other side it's like just the metal flooring of the bridge. So I was always in dilemma of which way to go. If I ran on the red carpet, it was rippling when people are running on it. It didn't feel stable. If I ran on the metal just bridge, it didn't feel great. So every time I got to a bridge, I was like, I don't know what to do. So we got to mile 21 and I'm running across the actual bridge now. And all of a sudden I heard this big, huge thump. I was like, oh my gosh, what was that? So I kind of turned my head slightly and I had seen a lady had fallen. And I was like, oh no. So I was nearly towards the end of the bridge. I thought, okay, let me get there and try and call for help for her. So as I went running, off the end of the bridge, I started to see a paramedic. So I started saying, excuse me, someone needs help. Someone's hurting themselves. Like not concentrating on myself at all. As I'm running, I can only see now because I can see the pictures. There was like potholes in the road. So what happened? My foot goes into the pothole. I then roll forward, tumble, flat on my face in front of the cameraman. The cameraman was sitting there going click, 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 and I'm flat on my face. I was just like, oh no. So I kind of moved myself over to the side. The paramedic guy came running to me. He was like, oh my God, are you okay? I was like, I'm fine, honestly. He's like, no, are you okay? I was like, I'm fine. I said, someone's hurt themselves at the bridge. Please go and help them. So he went running off. I kind of composed myself. Falling as an adult is completely different to falling as a child. So I just took like 3 to 4 minutes just to sit there to kind of compose myself. The lovely cameraman was just like, are you okay? I was like, I'm fine, thank you. So then I carried on going. And from that stage, I decided just to take it home to the finish line, nice and easy. So yes, this is me with my medal at the end, really excited that I made it. So the ending of my last 2 marathons didn't go great, but that's fine. That's how it goes sometimes. Nothing always goes to plan. So those were my 7 marathons that I wanted to tell you about. Now, what's now? So right now I am healing. I would say that I'm like 95% healed. I'm taking it really easy. I've taken a month off my training plan with my coach, and I've just been going out doing really small runs, 3 miles here, 4 miles here, and just trying to get myself in, doing lots of mobility, and I'm going to start getting back into strength training this week. So now that you know the journey so far, where I am now, what about 2025? What's in store? So I am hoping to run the London Marathon for the 45th anniversary. I feel like the first one was the first one. The second one wasn't for me. And I feel like the third one, hopefully, I'm hoping to go to London and really race it and give it my all. I'm hoping to take you guys along on the journey from day 1 to marathon day. And I really want to give it a good go to see what I can do. So that will be April 2025. So November 2025, I'm hoping to do the New York Marathon. So again, I don't have a place, I'm not signed up yet, but I would really love to run the New York Marathon to get my 4th star. So I am chasing these little stars, 3 down and 3 to go. So if you've stayed this long in the video, thank you so much for listening, and come along on the journey. Just come, let's see what happens. You never know. I might hit my goals, I may not. I'm just hoping that there's no more injuries and it's just fun. So thank you so much for listening, and I hope to see you soon.